court's, quote, erroneous order. Justice Alito also disagreed strongly with Judge Ali about which party was likely to prevail on the merits of this case. Alito wrote that the government would likely succeed in its argument that sovereign immunity deprives the district court of having jurisdiction over this matter at all, because sovereign immunity generally bars monetary suits against the government. Now, because the majority's response was so brief, they didn't delve into any of this, but there's good reason to believe that Justice Alito was mistaken on this point. Alito is correct that generally sovereign immunity bars lawsuits against the government. In particular, there's case law that bars monetary suits, but the government can waive that immunity, and it has done so in the Administrative Procedure Act, which expressly allows plaintiffs to sue the government for monetary relief. Alito argues that even the APA's waiver doesn't apply here because the relief Judge Ali granted would result in the government paying out billions of dollars. But Alito is confusing the plaintiff's request that the court order the government to honor its contracts with a demand for monetary damages. The plaintiffs in this case are not asking for monetary damages, and Judge Ali did not grant them in the traditional sense. Instead, he said the money at issue would be paid out as a natural result of the ordered action, the unfreezing of the contracts. That's an important distinction and would fit under the APA's waiver, allowing plaintiffs to file suit and seek unfreezing of the contracts. It's also important to note, as Judge Ali did after the case had been appealed, the defendants didn't really argue the sovereign immunity angle in their earlier filings. Alito is arguing it for them, but it was never really briefed on the district court level. Still, Judge Ali pointed out that he didn't think that this would be a strong argument or change his opinion about the plaintiff's likelihood to succeed on the merits. Alito also argued the district court's remedy was too broad because it had ordered the government to honor all of its contracts, not just the contracts it had with the plaintiffs. Now, it's impossible to know what the majority would think about this because it wasn't included in their one-paragraph opinion, but plaintiffs point out in their own briefings that what they were asking wasn't overbroad. What they demanded was merely the restoration of the status quo in which the United States government honored its contractual obligations. And this is the real crux of the case. If the government wanted to conduct an audit of all of its contracts, there's a way to do that. They could have reviewed each contract and then ended the ones that showed signs of fraud or abuse. That's what would have happened in a normal world. Instead, they put a blanket freeze on all contracts, ostensibly so they could conduct a review, but that's a review that they didn't or weren't conducting. And that's an extraordinary action that justifies Judge Ali's grant of extraordinary relief. But Justice Alito concluded his dissent with a parting shot at the, quote, self-aggrandizement of the district court and Judge Ali's hubris in ordering the Trump administration to pay out on government contracts. Justice Alito sees a constitutional crisis in the situation, and plaintiffs also see a constitutional crisis, but they're clearly seeing different crises. Now, where plaintiffs believe this is a question of separation of powers between Congress and the president, Justice Alito instead believes that this is a question of separation of powers between a lowly district court judge and the president. Now, we've discussed this before. The president doesn't have the authority to direct the disbursement of taxpayer funds. Article 1 of the Constitution, only Congress has that authority.